In this episode of How to Shoot Video for Your Business, we're taking a look at some editing software. Roll the bumper! G'day guys, my name is Bruce Garrett and I'm the owner of Gingerbeard Media, and in this episode of How to Shoot Video for Your Business, I want to run through an overview of some editing software. Now, if you are listening on the podcast, then this is going to be a pretty visual episode, so you probably want to jump over to YouTube or join our Facebook group, How to Shoot Video for Your Business, where you can follow along and view everything in all of the pixels of your dreams. So let's crack into this. First of all, the editing software of choice is Premiere Pro. Now there are other options available, and if you're looking for free options to edit, then my two suggestions are one, HitFilm Express or DaVinci Resolve. As I say, both are free. They're similar in setup, they're not exactly the same, but the principles I'm going to talk about today really will apply to those programs as well. So let's shrink me into a small box, stick me in the corner, and turn to the screen. So in this video, we're only going to be talking about a bit of an overview so you get a bit of an understanding, because these things do look complex if you've never stepped into an editing program before, but once you get the hang of them, they are pretty simple and easy to use. So the program itself is divided into different areas, and you can actually change these to what you want. So if you don't want this picture as big, you can simply shrink it down, bring it up. Perhaps this timeline, we don't want to see as much of that, we can shrink it down, bring it back up. So it's all customizable. You can even pick things up and move them around to wherever you want them. If you do get stuck, then you can always head to Window and Workspaces and then reset your saved layout. Will change back to your original format. So let's just quickly run through a quick overview as to what each box contains and what it does. So in your project folder, you will find all of your files. To get your files in here, all you need to do is drag and drop. I suggest that you keep them in folders, otherwise it will get messy, and nobody likes a messy workspace. In the middle, I have a couple of things which are accessible and they're both very useful. The first one is an effects controls tab, which basically means that if I click on any of these clips, I'm able to see what the effects we've added to them. And to get to that point, you'll probably need to add an effect, so I have an effects panel there as well. On the top right hand side, we have our play window, which if we scrub through the timeline, you can see it moving, so we can see what we're actually editing. And finally, down the bottom, we have our actual editing timeline itself. You can see this is an episode of How to Shoot Video, and you can see all of my cuts and all of my layers of the composition. So let's dive into the timeline a little bit more, and the first thing to note is that it's layered, and whichever layer is at the top is the layer that you're going to see. So let's start from the top down. On the top layer, we actually have a captions file. It's muted at the moment, but if I turn it on, you can see the captions down the bottom of the screen, and I can turn them on and off using this little toggle icon to the left-hand side. I'm going to leave them off because otherwise it's just going to look a little bit cluttered for the rest of this. Underneath that is a color mat, which actually controls the red play bar that plays underneath my videos at the moment. And I do that because it makes like the viewer feel like they're progressing along in the video. So I'm going to mute that one as well. What we're left with is the main crux of the video, and that's predominantly made up by the video track of me talking down at the bottom, which is the blue. That in turn is made up of two things. It's made up of the video and the audio, and you can see the audio bars down the bottom. Underneath that sits a green bar, and that's another audio piece, that's our music. The faint line that you can see at the bottom is actually a volume level. So because I want that music to sit lower than my voice, we've brought that volume down a little bit. Skipping back up a little bit, we've got an adjustment layer. An adjustment layer is like a filter on Instagram. It tunes up your picture. So what I've got, if I flick this on and off, is just a little vignette and a little tweak to make that picture look better. Our final pieces on the timeline are really these big blocks, and that's what controls all of our text. Underneath the text actually sits another adjustment layer, and what that is doing is blurring me as I talk, so that the text is a lot clearer to read. If I get rid of that, you can see that it's a bit difficult to actually see the text and read it. Bringing it back just darkens it down, blurs the background, makes the text a lot easier to read. So earlier I talked about the Effect Controls tab, and that is something that will be controlled through that. So you can see down here there's a Gaussian blur and a brightness and contrast, and these little dots are basically key markers that tell the program to change what it's doing. So at this point, we move from a blurriness of 50 and a brightness of -29, all the way through to returning the picture to normal when we hit 0 and 0. So that's what that panel does, and you're able to use that to control all of the footage that's within your timeline. So for example, in this video, we've got a reference piece of footage from the King's Speech, and it's got a small frame around it, so if we wanted to change that zoom, we would simply change the scale of that piece of footage. So the final piece to look at is these little bars now that I'm playing the clip. These little bars which are popping up on the right hand side, and that is our audio levels. So what we're trying to do is make sure that these audio levels are balanced so that they're not right at the top and therefore blowing and distorting people's speakers, and not right at the bottom where it's too quiet and people can't hear us. So there you go, there's our editing software. As I said before, there's free options out there. They do look a little complex when you start, but they really won't bite you if you give them a go. As ever, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of How to Shoot Video for Your Business. If you've got any questions or comments, I would love to hear them. And if you're a business owner who's looking to shoot and use video to market your business, then why not consider joining our Facebook group, How to Shoot Video for Your Business. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.